So hello and welcome to a very special McLaren 720S. We are in
a quarter of a mile, turn left onto North Alma School Park.
We are in the Spider. Now, we've got somewhat of a unique situation in that the embargo to do with driving impressions of this car is about 4 weeks away, which puts me in somewhat of a predicament because I've flown halfway around the world to Arizona to not only drive a car that I can't tell you about, but also drive it in the wet. So today, instead of bringing you a review in this video, we're going to take you along for the journey of what it's like when you're on these wonderful supercar launches. The idea is we're going to go and do a photo shoot to capture this car, hopefully by some cacti, of which there are many. I've been told that later on in the afternoon things are going to brighten up, so we're going to go and find an incredible driving road and take you along for the journey, because ultimately that's what this vlog's all about. Let's hit it. Okay, so while we're on this sort of longer, slower stretch of road, I feel the need to tell you guys somewhat of a personal story that I've never really shared. So back in the 1970s, my dad worked for Michelin, which is crazy because things have come full circle as I became a Michelin brand ambassador last year. But the interesting thing is, Michelin sent my dad out to Arizona, right here, for over 3 years, where he was a tire test driver. I mean, he had the best job in the world. They sent him out in the latest, greatest cars of the time, and they would send him prototype tires to literally put on the car at the beginning of the day, drive several hundred miles through the desert doing hot weather endurance testing, where he would feed back the data on the wear and tear of the tires under different loads. So for me to come back here, knowing that connection with my dad is quite a poignant experience. He was telling me about stories in the summer. He would be driving along, and every time they would stop to fill up for fuel, they would have to check for having rattlesnakes wrapped around the actual axle of the car, because in the summer at night time, snakes would come out of the undergrowth and lie on the hot tarmac. Well, now we're here in February and I'm told that snakes are currently in hibernation, but the stories he's told me from his time out here in Arizona, despite the fact that this is only my second time here, I seem to have this weird affiliation with the place. Whenever McLaren launch a car, they like to tell you a little bit about the country you're in and some sort of facts and figures about the area you're driving in. And they were telling us some really interesting stuff about Cactus, in that to get to that height, it takes around about 100 years for them to get sort of really tall and standing proud. And then for every arm which comes off a cactus, averages around about 75 years of growth. So when you're seeing a cactus which has like several arms off it, it's not uncommon for them to be around about 300 years old. It's incredible. So today, we're out to get the most beautiful cactus shot with a 720 Spider that we could possibly find. All right, we might as well go home. Clearly found the biggest cactus in the world. Look at this thing. Look at this. Conveniently at the side of the road. So this is what we're doing on a day where we can't share driving impressions, is getting a load of like content and footage and photography for future websites and social media posts and whatnot. But come over here and check out this. That's a cool picture. I literally might as well go home now.
You found a cactus!
Behold the largest cactus in the world. Look at it!
Pretty good effort.
It's a strong effort, right? Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, we estimate it to be like 600 years old.
Not bad, not bad. Well, I estimate this car to be about a week old.
Okay. You will also notice that many fellow YouTubers also out here for the same thing. So expect us to drop exactly the same content at the same time in about 4 weeks or so. Seconds to retract the roof. That is seriously cool. Right, gonna line this up a notch. About there. Photo time. This picture's worth flying halfway around the world for. This is cool. Yeah. Are you ready? Look at that. Expect this to be on Instagram any second now. So check this out, this is the coolest thing ever. So I just dropped a pin to my dad to tell him where I am. He was based out near Tucson, I think. Anyway, so he's just replied back with this photograph from when he was here. Look at this, this is in the 70s. That's the coolest thing ever. So my dad's the one on the far left. Amazing. So I've heard my dad talking about this place for so long, and now here I am, driving supercars through Arizona where he was based. Speaking of which, we better drive quick because the rain's coming and we need to keep it off our heads. Okay, we have arrived at our first stop of the day, the Payson Golf Club. What McLaren do exceptionally well is a lot of research before they come out to events. They must spend a fortune actually doing the research on the venues, what they do, but every year my sort of highlight events are always with McLaren in terms of the venues we go to. Case in point, incredibly beautiful golf course, amazing scenery. No doubt we're going to have some proper American grub, which is good, just absolutely starving. So we'll show you around via a sexy music montage as to the location we're at right now. Check out this flamboyant spoon array. Look at this. I mean, heaven forbid you'd have to have the same spoon for every bite. So they're giving you separate, individual spoons for each bite you want to take. Seriously, look at this. Thank you. So on the off chance anyone watching this video is planning on ordering and speccing a 720S or a 720 Spider, take it from me, it's better not to have any light contrasting panels on the top of the dashboard. Now today is an overcast day and you can still see, look, the outline and reflection of this light tan coloured leather on the dash. But take it from me, when the sun comes out, like you see that panel there, that's going to be really annoying. So aesthetically pleasing, but it's going to be quite a distraction. So yeah, bear that in mind. And this is where events like this really come into their own, when we're in a convoy of 5 of the same car. It's such an amazing feeling. I do find you enter this sort of, it's quite hard to explain, but when you get a group of cars together, you do enter this bubble of awesomeness, and everyone's camaraderie levels go through the roof as you're sharing the same journey together. But it's amplified tenfold when you're also all in exactly the same car. And these really are the only times you're gonna get that, when you're on a launch event when there's so many of the same model. And look at the road that stretches out into the horizon, up towards the mountains. What a special day it's turned out to be. Okay, so I'm finally back at the hotel, and conveniently they've managed to fly in, I mean literally drop a 720S Spider inside this hotel via a helicopter a few nights ago, and it just so happens to be in exactly the same spec as the car that I've been driving today. So I'm going to give you a walk around and show you the details of what makes this car different, obviously other than the roof coming off from the standard 720 coupe. Let's have a look. Okay, let's just jump straight to the main point, which is all about the rear deck. Of course, this is now a convertible. So the central of the roof retracts, and it's currently the fastest roof mechanism on a supercar. It retracts the entire roof system, collapses away in as little as 11 seconds, which, as I'm sure you saw earlier, was pretty quickly. I did actually have to put the roof up in a hurry earlier on because the rain started to come down extra heavy, and despite how fast we were going, the water was still coming in the cabin. What's great about it is that you can still retract the roof or put it back up again, even when you're traveling just over 50 kilometers an hour.
which is a pretty handy when the skies open as they did earlier. But let's talk about the details and how they've achieved such a magnificent sculpture. So you would be forgiven for thinking that they might have just transplanted the same unit from the 570S or the 650S in terms of how they retract the roof, but they've in fact designed an entirely new system. They've been granted 2 new patents on it, and that's how they've achieved such a fast retraction time. They've also managed to make it look incredibly beautiful and still maintained, if I stand back, look, they've still maintained the sweeping lines of the car as a result of these flying buttresses here. Now these are actually made of glass, so from this side you can't really tell because they've got quite a heavy tint on them. From the driver's side you can actually see through them. Now what's fantastic is, normally you'll find that with a Spider or convertibles, these rollover protection buttresses often get in the way in terms of the visibility, both blind spots and when you're reversing and you look over your shoulder and you're trying to see where you're parking. Big areas like this can often create a substantial blind spot. So what McLaren have done, ingeniously, have installed these glass flowing buttresses. Not only do they look fantastic, but when you look over your shoulder in the car, you can see straight through them, and so the visibility for a convertible, for a Spider, is game-changing. It's a very impressive feature, and of course it's not only aesthetic and practical from a visibility point of view, but it's also optimized for aerodynamic airflow as well. Now one of the major re-engineering jobs on the car was of course the doors, because with it not having the more conventional monocage 2 tub where it has the door inserts which conventionally sit on a 720S here, there is no roof, so they've had to pivot the doors in a different manner. So if I just open this like so, what they've done is re-engineered these gas struts here. Now I'm not sure if it's because there's less weight in these doors or not, but I've just been living with the 720S for the last 3 months and these doors feel like they open and close much easier. And they've also increased the angle of which they open. So getting in and out of the car, you can actually tell these come up and they stand a lot more proud than they might have done on the 720 Coupe, which means getting in and out, even when the roof is closed, is a little bit easier. Of course, one of the benefits of the doors on the 720 Coupe was that when you took the doors away, they literally took out a section of the roof, so getting in and out was really easy. Of course, with this, even if the roof is closed, you're still going to have this fixed roof line here. So by making the doors just stand taller at a more aggressive angle when you open them, you can still access in and out of the car a little bit easier. Of course, they've also maintained the sort of scalloped tub which was taken from the design of the 570S, which makes swinging your leg over this section of the tub a lot easier. That's fast. Okay, now the roof's up, I want to share with you a really cool piece of tech that I would say is shared with Speedtail. So I'm not sure if you watched the review that I did on that car, but there's electrochromic glass which sits in the roof of the car. So you're able to change the opacity at the touch of a button of this top glass panel. Here, look at that. Instant. And it just allows light to flood in this cabin. It transforms the whole feel of it. It's a really great feature, that. Look at this. Touch again. It just goes straight back again. What an awesome feature. So the roof's up. I just want to demonstrate to you the really trick aero that they've managed to achieve with this car. So typically with a Spider, because you have this sort of drop-off shelf here, what it creates is sort of turbulent air that has a disruptive flow over the rear of the car, which affects downforce when it reaches the rear wing. But with this, you'll see that, see those slots there? Both on each side of the car as a result of these very fancy buttresses. They channel air in, like left and right of the car. They channel air in, it compresses it down here and shoots it and directs it and basically cleans up the airflow, meaning that there's no disturbance of the aero, which is why there's no change at all in the aero performance versus the coupe. It's very trick stuff, and that's another reason why these guys have been granted 2 patents on their retractable roof. And one more unique feature that is staring us right in the face before we sign off is this paint job. So this is a new colour called Belize, which has been launched specifically for the Spider. It's absolutely stunning. And last but not least, you might have noticed these beautiful new alloy wheels. These are 10-spoke lightweight alloy wheels. They're not exclusive to Spider, but they were launched on Spider. They look incredible, particularly the rears. They're extra dished. Look at this. Once again, incredible sculpture from McLaren.
Okay, so that is it for my time with the new McLaren 720S Spider. Now, I know I haven't given you any driving impressions, but the embargo is literally 4 weeks away. So you'll have to hold on for that one. But I will be also bringing you a review, first driving impressions on the new 600LT Spider, which conveniently I'm going to be driving tomorrow. So we shall tell you all about that car. That I'm very excited about. The embargo on that is even further away. It's going to be after the press days at the Geneva Motor Show. So expect sort of, second week in March sort of time. But I couldn't fly halfway around the world and not bring you something from this event. So gone back to roots, a little bit more of a sort of daily vlog lifestyle type of video that I hope you've enjoyed the insights into what goes on behind the scenes at these events anyway. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time. Ciao.